everyone. See, I used to be a teacher. I can still talk loud. I don't do that government law. But a special welcome to all of the Porter Scholars. We're very pleased and honored to have you on our campus. And a very, very special welcome to the faculty without which you couldn't make any progress at all. We really do appreciate this program and all of you. And I know if Mr. Porter were here, and we tried our best to at least guide him in, and I believe he's probably out of the country. The only thing he would ask me to tell you is work hard. That's the key to success. And when he spoke to some of you a few years ago, I think, what, 2 years ago? Yeah. He referred to Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outliers, that essentially says that to be successful you need to become an expert, and the average number of hours you need to study for that is about 10,000 hours. So you maybe could add up all the hours you have so far and see how close you are. It's roughly about the same amount of time that it takes faculty members to earn a PhD. So he also, some of his other interesting examples were, of course, Bill Gates, who didn't go to college or didn't finish a university degree, but he spent thousands and thousands of hours working on his own. And then, of course, my favorite example, the Beatles, who spent a lot of hours. Of course, they're just those old guys that your parents like, or maybe your grandparents at this point, who spent many, many hours practicing actually in Germany, not so much in Liverpool. So very glad that you're here. And I think what we want to do now is just not further starve you, let you eat, and then we'll have a presentation, and I want you to enjoy and visit. And this is a special time in your lives. It really is. I know you don't believe me. School is the best time in your life. Because you can focus on study, and you never have enough money, certainly. But it's certainly the time that I look back on with a lot of fondness. So again, welcome. And why don't we just start with this table here? I believe we can use both sides. Before we have listened to our speaker, I thought it would be good to go around and introduce. Not all of you may know everybody else, especially the students who are new, and to know the faculty also. So let's. I was kidding about the 10-minute speech. 10-second introductions. It'll be just fine. So why don't we start with the faculty? Back there.
Back here. Tim Armstrong. I'm teaching biology.
Adam Kleinschmidt, teaching biology as well.
Are we going faculty first? All right, I'm Chris Adams. I teach chemistry, and I had a 10-minute speech, but I'll go ahead.
I think we need it. Dr. Brink had to leave.
Yeah, she's going to you, Ben.
I'm Anna Vitas Vargas. I'm a math professor.
I'm Jared Beaton, and I'm in Earth Sciences.
Hi, I'm Ankur. I'm in computer science.
Stephen Benz, I'm math and physics.
And I'm Renee Beaton, I'm chemistry.
You know you're getting old when the faculty look as young to you as the students used to. So. Let's have the students and start with our double vision.
All right. I'm Darren Cisneros, I'm majoring in pre-med. I'm Drake Cisneros, I'm also majoring in pre-med.
I'm Camilla Williams, I'm also pre-med. I'm Kaylee Potter, in chemistry.
Dan Garber, graduate.
Stephanie Savage, chemistry.
Jacob Smith. I'm a geology major.
I'm Jason Roth. I'm a geology major in my third year.
Nicole Engler, biochemistry. Casey Cheney, wildlife biology. Chris Isidore, pre-vet.
Matthias DeFoya, math. Sean Monahan, wildlife biology.
Kelsey Saxton, biology. Kate Woodard, biology.
Lindsay Olschmidt, biology.
I'm Ben Goldsworthy, and I'm math and physics.
And I'm Summer Shannon, biology.
Welcome everyone. And we'll happily turn this over to a graduate who will tell you how much wonderful life is going to be once you've graduated from Hampton State.
It'll be different. So we have power on this thing? Hello, hello. It's always interesting to try to get used to, Mike. All right, well, thanks for coming out and enjoying the dinner. You're all here because you're Porter Scholars, and I was a Porter Scholar through my time here at Adams. I graduated last May with a degree in geology and geography. So what Dr. Nearian asked me here today, and he sent me an email, and I look at the title of the email, and it was Porter Scholar. I'm like, did he really forget to take me off the emailing list? It doesn't quite seem Dr. Nearian's really on top of it. So, but it wasn't. I was surprised. He wasn't asking me to attend the dinner as a student, but to attend it as a speaker. And definitely the first time giving a speech like this, but I was excited and I'm glad to be here now. And the criteria of the speech was really pretty simple. One, I had to explain how the Porter Scholarship helped me at my time with Adams. And then two, answer the questions that all your grandmas and friends and family want to hear. What are you doing with your life? So that's a hard one, and we're going to get to that later. So I'll start with my story with the Porter Scholarship. And it actually started back in 2009. I applied for the program, was really happy, hoping to get into it, get on board, and basically filled out an incomplete application and didn't get accepted. I'm pretty sure I didn't turn in a transcript with my application, so pretty easy, you know, file the form and get in. But it was a lesson learned. I did that, messed up, and as a result know that even programs set in place to help you will not do so if you don't put up your end. So really important to always be there doing what you can to get the most out of the things that are there to help you. So I started taking scholarship applications more seriously. In the following year, 2010, I really kind of looked at it as almost a job. I started seeing scholarships as money that you can make for very little work. You're already doing all the classwork, you're already learning, and it may ask an essay. So spend 3 hours writing this essay, and as a result, you may get $1,500 over the course of the year. So what's that, $500 an hour? If I could work like that the rest of my life, it'd be easy. Probably won't ever happen again, though. So yeah, for the 2010-2011 aid year, I became a Porter Scholar. And at that time, what it really was for me was your name on the wall in Porter. So every time you go to the bathroom, you get to see yourself there. And also a small chunk of your tuition taken care of. So you didn't have to pay that off. And that's kind of almost a shallow way to look at what this program can actually offer. But that was my first year. That's really what I thought of it as. A name on the wall and a little extra money. So, got in, it took 2 tries, but it happened. And my first real experience with the Porter Scholar Program was the summer trips. So I went on a trip with a lot of the students here today, and Dr. Benson and Dr. Renee Beaton were leading the trip, and Dr. Jared Beaton was tagging along, eating all their food and hanging out. But it was a really great trip. We got to go all over New Mexico, see a lot of the kind of geologic history, the cultural history, and then what the science was going on there. Los Alamos Natural Laboratories. A lot of really great things to be seen. And it was definitely a trip that I would never have done myself, largely because of 900 miles in the vehicle. It's pretty restricting for gas, but some of those places, the museums we went to, the sites we visited weren't on my radar. They weren't things that I wanted to check out, but getting the opportunity to go there really provided me with good experiences, to learn that, and then also to learn more about the other scholars. As an upperclassman, you really get stuck in your degree. Those are the people you know, those are the people you hang out with. So it was an opportunity to meet some other people in different degrees and learn about them, maybe break some of the stereotypes you have about them. So Matthias was there, and he was reading a Steinbeck novel. And up till that point, I thought that math people had no interest in fiction at all. So it was great to see Matthias there reading a fiction novel and change my perspective on a group of people I see every day. But really great trip. Super glad I got to go on it and see all that part of the country. That following summer as well, a year goes by, I believe, and Dr. Armstrong was actually taking a group to Africa. Amazing opportunity. As a Porter Scholar, like all you guys are, you can apply for focused academic programs like the trip to Africa and actually get a trip. You can go to a different country, you can be with these professors who are going to tell you about it for little to no cost to yourself. So it's an incredible opportunity, and I didn't take it. And it was something I had to ask. A question I had to ask myself a lot was, why not go? What's the disadvantages of it? And really hard decision to make. I ended up staying here in the Valley and working a second year with the Ambassadors Wilderness Program at Great Sand Dunes National Park instead of going on that trip. And it's hard to say if that was the right choice or not. What benefits would have come out of getting that cultural experience of visiting another country and all that. So, but what happened? Hard decision, you make it and you stick with it. And you do your best you can to follow that path with that decision. As of now, I haven't gotten any other opportunities to go to Africa for cheap. And I don't foresee that happening really again. So maybe a missed opportunity, but you still work with it and you make the best of those hard decisions that you make. So another great lesson from opportunities presented in this program is making a hard choice about what you want to do in the future and really sticking to it. So that whole time, when I was battling with myself over the pros and cons of going to Africa, Gary Potter and I were working on a separate proposal for funding through the Porter Scholar Program for research that we had been working on. I've gotten to work with Dr. Beaton doing soils research throughout my time at Adams. And we were actually able to apply for and get funding to get a material we've collected dated. So we get ages to our research. And it totally throws the whole thing in a loop. We went from having, even while we were collecting this material, we had good ideas of, right, this is going to be this old, and it means this in the larger scheme of things. And then 40 days later, you get the information back, and you're like, oh, that wasn't right. We need to rethink this. And you can look at it, and you're like, well, man, were we messing up? Were we doing bad science, making bad decisions, taking bad notes? And I don't think we were. I think we're doing the best we can with the given information. And you get more information, and you have to change your hypothesis to make it all fit. So a year later, after we got all those dates, we had a much better, much more complete idea of what was actually happening in those basins. And just an opportunity, I mean, that was close to $4,000 that we got for that program to really make our research substantially better, more valuable for the scientific community as a whole. So my final semester of school was this last spring, and took on the idea of completing a paper. So all the work that I've done, all these dates, information we've gotten about these basins throughout the San Luis Valley, Dr. Beaton and I started putting together a research paper with the idea of getting it published by the time I graduated. Looking back on it, I think that was a fairly non-realistic idea, and a great example of how your mentors will withhold information to get you to work harder. But still good, still good. So we worked on a paper, and we did a ton of work. It was this kind of frustrating thing almost, this huge project, trying to gather in all this information you've collected over the years and put it into one single piece. And I thought of it a lot as like this pinnacle, this mountain in the distance, where as you get closer, you're spending more and more time working at it, the mountain just gets bigger and bigger, and it seems like you're never really going to get there. So on 4/27/012, I saved the paper and didn't look at it. There was the end. I made it through the semester, and the hardest thing I tried to do in school, I left incomplete. Really frustrating and really kind of a tough thing to happen. But really what had happened at that point is I reached a point in my life where things were changing. I was graduating school, I had a job coming out of it. So finals week, I took 4 tests on Monday and started work that following Tuesday. That Wednesday, I was handed a task list of things to do for our Ambassadors to Wilderness program. And it started in December, and almost none of it was done. And I had a month to put that all together before the first trip went out. So I was really able to take all that effort that I was working on with that paper and just translate that right into the job. And it worked. I made it out alive in August, and all the kids did too, and a lot of them seemed to have fun, and it was good. But after I finished that section of work, I ended up, for the first time since I really had started school, being at a point where I'm like, wow, what comes next? I finished my program, finished the main work for the summer, and really kind of had this 3 days where I almost didn't do anything, which is not typical, as you guys all know. And what I did is went to the computer and opened the document called the paper for 2712 and started to work on it. So I spent my lunch periods at work kind of going back and taking away at it. I started coming down to Adams here on Friday mornings and spending time in the computer lab working on it with the goal of finishing this project that I started, not leaving it unfinished. And as of now, we're done with a complete draft. It's getting edited by Dr. Beaton, and ideally this paper will be done within the year, which is a much more realistic time, I think, to have that whole project completed. But and it feels great. It feels great to come back into school and to get back into that mindset that you guys all in now, and really continue to work on these ideas that I've had through my college. So, as a whole, the Porter Scholarship is really a lot more than a name on a wall. It's a lot more than the funding you get for being a student. And it's really provided me with experiences and perspectives that I haven't gotten through any other program. It's opened my eyes to the greater world of science and has allowed me to try to find my place in it. And be it through those summer trips or through the research that I got a chance to do, probably the most beneficial part of it is these opportunities to work with mentors, to work with these people who have learned a lot more than you already. So you get to kind of pick at their knowledge and learn from them in a very direct means. And that's been definitely the most beneficial aspect of coming here to Adams, is being able to meet those mentors and work directly with them. So, there's one thing I'd like all the Porter Scholars to know, is that don't think of the program as that name or a sum of money. Think of it as a show of gratitude for what you do, what you've taken on learning, and then also an opportunity to show those people who have rewarded you that you can do more, that you can take the help that they provide you and do bigger and greater things. And I know you all can, because you're all here right now. You're picked from a big bunch and should be proud of being where you're at right now. So, now we'll move on to the hard one. So, I have a fallback answer for what are you doing with your life? And I can't predict the future, so I don't really know what's going to happen. It's a total cop-out, but I think it's got a really strong point to it. It's that as best as you plan and as best as you see yourself doing something in the future, that may not happen. And you end up having to just stick with something and keep going at it. There's no way that I saw myself where I was today 3 years ago. Totally different, but I'm happy with it, and we'll continue with it. So, raise your hand if you were here for William Porter's talk in 2010. All the old people in the crowd, right? And Dr. Savaldi brought this up, and he gave a really great talk. I enjoyed it. I'm very glad I got to see it, and a big part of what he talked about is that to be successful, you have to spend that time. And it's really important to find something that you do where you spend your time and kind of focus your life around that. So when I think about my future, a lot of what I do is look back into my past. Look at where I've been spending my time, what I've been doing, because those are the skills that I'm already building. Those are the things that I know I'm good at, know that I've practiced and made mistakes with, and want to continue to improve. So, I'm going to share with you a story from my past, and I think it involves my greatest mental achievement of my life. So, I'm just going to read it here from the paper. I was in 2nd grade at a Catholic school in the south side of Chicago. At the start of lunch, I am struggling gravely to push my orange plastic straw through the circle of material, preventing me from drinking my Capri Sun. Suddenly, a voice erupts from the crowd. Attention all, attention all. If you look to the north wall, you will notice a new addition to the lunchroom. So I gazed forth, slightly confused at the nearly 100 feet of wrapping paper that has been taped to the wall. It was speckled with groupings of animals from Africa's grasslands. So giraffes next to elephants, unidentifiable gazelles, trees with monkeys and birds. The animal arrangements varied from group to group. Abruptly, I was drawn out from my thoughts by a word I knew well, chocolate. And the lunchroom erupted in a roar. Confused, I heard exasperated yelps of, "There's like a million. I love chocolate." And the tentative trading of bikes and weeks' worth of lunches for this chocolate. Soon the crowd was calmed, and I heard it with my own ears. Yes, the student who can guess the total number of animals on the wrapping paper will win a 25-pound bar of the world's finest chocolate. The stage was set, and I had my eye on the prize, and one day to submit my number. So, we were not permitted to leave our tables at lunch, so walking the length of the paper was not, therefore, in counting was not really an option. We were also specifically instructed to guess, so counting would have been viewed as a sin. But with such high stakes, though, I felt I could donate 5 pounds to the church to repent and still have enough chocolate to last me the rest of my life, 20 pounds. So I spent the whole lunch looking at the paper, trying to figure out how many animals were on it. I never did get my Capri Sun open that day. So over the night, I pondered breaking into the church basement where our lunchroom was to count the animals, but decided instead I needed to find a pattern, see if it repeated itself and determine how many times. This idea is simple now as a college graduate, but to date it was probably my greatest feat of logic. So the next day at lunch, I sat as close to the paper as possible, identified all the different groups of animals and the total number of animals in each group, after which I found the pattern. I was afraid to write down any numbers, since counting was cheating and friendships run thin with that much chocolate on the line. So I did the math in my head, and I placed my number in the bin as I left the lunchroom, feeling as though I had made a wager in my life. During the following morning's announcement, they declared that there was one winner of the full bar, and the winner would be announced at the end of the day, which just so happened to be the longest day of my life. When the day finally ended, I heard my name over the speaker. I'd won it. I went to the principal to receive the bar, and he asked me, "What made you guess the number?" I froze, stared blankly ahead, which was a common thing for me to do at that time in my life. I felt my conscience pushing on me to speak the truth of math. However, during my trip in my own thoughts, I saw the bar. So I simply said, "I thank God." I did not tell anyone how I won the chocolate until 5th grade, when I switched schools. But the effect of winning was far greater than the chocolate itself. I became a critical thinker, a junior scientist, you can say. I realized how much better educated decisions were than just guessing, and the rewards that can come with the new power of thought. With my new means of thinking firmly in place as a result of my victory over the African wrapping paper, I went on after bigger feats. The Tooth Fairy and Easter Bunny fell fast, is my new brain thought. And within a month, jolly old St. Nick seemed a bit far-fetched. So to bring this back to my future and what we're doing here today, the way I've seen it, I've been, since second grade, a critical thinker, and I've been honing those skills. I've been working, using that idea of thought to solve problems and to get to where I am today. So just like William Porter said, where are you spending your time? What are you spending your time doing? So when I look into my future, I know that I'm going to need to find something where I can use those skills, where I can think critically, where I can make educated decisions. And so I seek those out when I look into opportunities. School, 5 years at school does a lot of that for you. You're constantly working on solving problems, making ideas for yourself, and sticking with them. Another place where I've spent a substantial amount of time is in the outdoors. Throughout my whole life, I've really pursued the shelter of woods as kind of like my safe place, the place where I want to go. Every time I go outside, I ask myself, why don't I spend more time out here? And throughout my 5 years in Colorado, I've spent just under a year living and working outside. So about a fifth of my time here, I've been in the outdoors. And because of that time commitment I have to it already, I know moving into the future, I need to seek something where I have those opportunities to work and play in the outdoors. So currently, and into the near future, I'm the education technician at Great Sand Dunes National Park. I'm in charge of the programming and the primary field instructor for the Ambassadors for Wilderness outdoor education program. So I get to take middle school and high school students out into the backcountry at Great Sand Dunes and try to provide them a safe and meaningful backcountry experience to get them kind of some of the ideas that I have developed about the land around us and the appreciation for it. It's a very great job. It's challenging. I have freedom to make my own choices and evaluate those choices, see how they turn out in the end, and make changes. And you're also working with people who can change their minds, so it makes everything a whole lot harder. But the best part about it is that you can change theirs too. You can really make a difference on some of these kids, and it's definitely the most rewarding part of what I do. The unfortunate part of the job is that it's seasonal. So regardless of how well I do, I'm going to be laid off in 25 days. It's going to happen. So I have an off season to work with, and for that time, I'm going to be substitute teaching here in the Valley. Most of my positions as an educator have been with people who want to be here, want to learn about the stuff we're talking about. So I'm hoping to get some experience, maybe not all of it, but some, with people who don't want to be there and really don't care what you're talking about at all. So I think that'll help you become a better educator in the long run. So looking forward into the further future, what do I really see is tons of opportunities, tons of places to go, good base from here, my education, and I can move that in a lot of different ways, but I know some things will be constant. I want to learn from good mentors. I want to have people that I can learn off of their experiences. And I also want to be in that position myself, because it's very rewarding. And I also know I want to be able to spend as many aspects of my life in the outdoors, because that's something that I just love. All right, and to tell you the truth, I never did give 5 pounds of chocolate back to the church. So instead of giving it back to them, I got you all some chocolate. So Kaylee's going to be passing around some bars. And this is not just chocolate, there's a catch. Each piece of chocolate has a question wrapped around it. And a big part of being here tonight is getting to know the people around you. So these are open-ended questions, some of them goofy, some of them a little more serious, that I want you to read to your table and answer it as best as you can, so that you can get to know a little bit of the personality of the people around you. So you can feel free to grab one from the box. you.